99.99% of every single decision you will make for your Amazon business is not life or death. Like, it's immediately recoverable. So just do it.
I'm Bryce Gracie, host of the EZee E-Commerce podcast, and this podcast is dedicated to boosting your trajectory towards international success through connecting you with e-commerce and Amazon experts, all with something different to offer. In today's episode, I spoke with Mina Elias from the TRIVIUM group. It was an extremely interesting conversation. We spoke about personality traits that define winners, very specific PPC golden nuggets, basically how to build your brand from 0 to 7 figures, and the lessons that Mina learns on his journey. I think this is one of our best podcasts to date, and you for sure do not want to miss it, so stay tuned. Welcome back to the EZee E-Commerce podcast. Today's chat is an interesting one. We are joined by someone extremely well-versed in the Amazon PPC industry and is generally well-known by most people in the space. He is an engineer by trade, but found himself drawn to the Amazon industry by educating the masses on PPC while running a successful supplement brand. Not an easy feat. He is the founder of TRIVIUM Group, known as the last PPC agency you'll hire, and a fellow African at that. Welcome to the show, Mina Elias. How are you doing today?
Great, man. I love that. We're fellow Africans. I forgot about that. I really would love to visit South Africa, man. They're very high on my list.
Yeah. I mean, Egypt is a very common destination for South Africans. I guess most people around the world. But yeah, you are literally, I think, the first African we are having on this podcast. Hopefully not the last.
I love it, man. Awesome. I'm very excited for today's episode.
Fantastic. So just to kick us off, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and about the TRIVIUM Group?
Cool. A little bit about myself. I started, in Amazon in 2018. My background's, corporate engineer. I graduated top of my class as a chemical engineer, got my master's in industrial engineering, standard career path, right? Worked up the corporate ladder. I was in Medtronic, which is a $30 billion surgical devices company. Worked my way a little bit up there, moved to another job. And, I just kind of eventually realized that no matter how many jobs or no matter how many different things that I do, there's like an unsatisfaction. And that unsatisfaction came from me being controlled. I don't like to be controlled. I'm like a very kind of like a wild animal sort of person. Anyone who knows me knows this, right? I'm a pretty wild card. And so I like to be given a goal. I like to be given freedom, and I'll break through walls. But I didn't know this. I didn't know that entrepreneurship existed. I was actually very strongly against entrepreneurship because I thought it was like, not real or scammy, whatever, because I just didn't know any better. And I thought like being an engineer or being a lawyer or a doctor and working up the corporate ladder, becoming a CEO, that was the only path, the only like legitimate path. But in 2018, I was incredibly upset with my life. I was getting paid decent at a job, but I was clocking in, clocking out, working, 9 hours, commuting an hour and a half. Life kind of just felt like I was in a prison, but without really being in prison. It's just kind of like a self-imposed prison. So that's where I decided to start a supplement brand because so I've been fighting MMA since 2013. I no longer fight, but I still compete in jiu-jitsu and stuff like that, and wrestle and things like that. So during the time, I really wanted something that will enhance my performance. I still do. It's still something that I notice a huge difference when I don't take it. Like if I go on a trip and then I come back and I don't take it, I'll notice my performance in the gym is impacted. So I created an electrolyte supplement. Tried to sell it in gyms and stores, didn't work out for me. So I got it on Amazon because I figured that's where I buy all my supplements. And right now, Amazon, I buy 100% of my supplements. I rarely ever buy them anywhere else. And so, I figured, let me get this product on Amazon. Let me figure out how it works. And then, I went into this deep dive of how to make the product sell on Amazon, figured it out, grew to the brand to over $1 million in revenue, and continued. I was like taking a lot from the community back then because I didn't know anything. So I started giving back. And very quickly, I became, popular and known in the industry for someone who adds a lot of value without asking for anything in exchange. I started consulting brands. I started, I put out like courses, videos, all of this stuff. And now I think fast forward, I've consulted over 500 brands. I've consulted 3 aggregators. I trained an aggregators team. Trivium Group was kind of born in 2021 when the demand was incredibly high for me to have an agency, but I was very against it. I just wanted to have my supplement brand. But when this aggregator hired me, they said, we want to try you on one of our brands while you train our team, just to make sure you know what you're talking about. And 4 months in, they said you beat out like 6 very, very big name agencies and by a lot. And that's when I'm like, okay, I really should stop. It's almost like, the superhero, right? That gets this superpower and he's like, nah, like, I don't want to do anything. I just want to be in my house, like, sort of thing. It was almost like that. It was like, I'm just given this blessing of like everyone in the Amazon space knew me, and knew me for a good reason. They knew me because I was giving so much value, not knew me because like, I was like someone who's like taking pictures with Lamborghinis or something. And then, I was also very good and clearly, outperformed a lot of other people. And it was something that I enjoyed. I genuinely enjoyed PPC because I'm an engineer, and PPC is all numbers and problem solving and pattern recognition. And so that's when Trivium was born. It's a, PPC agency. It's a partial team. And so the team integrates with your team, and we basically run everything very detailed. You get a team of 5 or 6 people, and it's almost like, like when the Formula One car like drives up and you have 6 people that jump in and each one does one thing and then they go. That's exactly how our team operates, man. You come in and then one guy does the ads, one guy does the strategy, one guy, does brand stuff, one guy does the analytics, and everything is so streamlined and refined, like Toyota, model sort of thing. And we've grown to over 90 clients right now, 90 brands under management. Some of them are amazing. They've been on Shark Tank. Some of them are small and just starting out. And my goal is just to add the most amount of value. And I know that eventually, the money and the freedom and everything will come just by, contributing and adding the most amount of value.
Okay. So let's take a small step back. You started that supplement business. Just because, you were purchasing a lot of supplements. You obviously saw a small gap in the market there. How did you go about growing it to a 7-figure brand?
Yeah, I'll tell you what I followed, and I'll tell you if I were to go back in time, what I would do. So the way that I think the first prerequisite to all of this is obsession. I had an incredible amount of obsession because of the, how desperate I was to leave my old life. Because of that desperation, because of, the borderline depression of the situation of my life, I was incredibly obsessed to making this thing work. I was like, I'm either going to make this work or I'm going to die trying, because it's like, I was done with what I had. And so that's the prerequisite for anyone. If you right now have a very comfortable 9-to-5, if you have kids and all of this stuff, and you're taking this as a side gig and not with complete obsession, you have to understand that the next guy over from you is fully obsessed, and he's probably fighting for his life to make this work. And so understand that if you don't have that hunger, if you don't have that drive, there are friends, we started at the same time, and I would go like the level of obsession that I had, I messaged when I launched my product, I messaged everyone, including every single one of my exes, to buy my product on Amazon and leave a review, and then I would later on with my other friends, I would connect them to people. I'd say, hey, Bryce, connecting you to John, connecting you to Kelsey. They'll buy your product and leave a review. And then the message would be maybe a day later. It should be 3 seconds later. The message, then the follow-up would be, oh, I forgot to follow up. You don't want it that bad. You don't, and like, if you're listening to this and you don't want it that bad, you're never going to get it. I promise you. And this is something I saw in MMA it's the guys that want it so bad that they will die. They literally die for it. Those are the guys that are on top, so anyways, that was kind of the first thing that I had was complete obsession. And that was what drove everything. The second thing was, of course, I wish I had the right people around me, but I didn't. But I was also consuming content as much as possible. and then taking massive action on that content. So I would, let's say, listen to this podcast episode, get some tips. I would go, I have a notebook, and in my notebook, I said, okay, I'm going to try this one thing that Mina talked about. I would try it and I would measure the results, and I would come back and make a deduction. This is what happened. And then I kept doing that one thing at a time, again and again and again and again. Initially, I was testing 5 or 6 different things at once, and I never knew what was causing what. But then when I stuck to one thing at a time, testing it, giving it a few days, 5 days, because, being patient is hard when you're starting out. You're checking your sales every 2 minutes. Like checking, like trying all these different things. If you just try one at a time, document, understand the outcome, you stack all these learnings, and very, very quickly you understand what's working. So for me, what I found was working was PPC. The more money I spent on PPC, the more money I made, and reviews. The more reviews that I got, the more money I made, and the better my conversion rate was. So I knew, okay, I needed a good listing. I needed, it to look good. I did a little bit of that. I didn't put too much time and energy into my listing. I SEO optimized it as much as I can. I put, honestly, I just went to my competitors and I'm like, what are my top competitors doing? My listing, I want it to be as close as possible to them. And so that's all I did. And we can talk in a lot more detail what I do now, which is a way better and more systematic way. But I would just like go look at my competitors and I would get stuff from them. But then when it came to PPC, I knew that I had to continue to spend more and more money to make more money. But I knew I had to do it efficiently. And so I started developing these systems of, okay, when I launch this keyword, what's going to happen? Is it profitable? Is it not profitable? If it's profitable, I'm going to keep it running. If it's not profitable, I'm going to, turn down the bid. And then it was just, okay, figuring out what's the best campaign structure through testing different campaign structures. Is it multiple ad groups? Is it single ad group? Is it 20 keywords or is it 5 keywords or 1 keyword? Is it $100 budget or a $10 budget? And through rigorous testing, one thing at a time, and of course, I didn't initiate those tests. It was always like I would listen to someone and then I would try something. And then that would feed into another idea and I would try it. And then I would go to a conference and someone would speak about something and I would try it. And that's kind of the evolution of how did I go from, starting out to that. I invested every single thing back into the business. Actually, when I was fired from my job 6 months in, I was making $4,000 a month in profits. But I'm like, if I stay in America, I'm going to live off of $4,000 because I knew my bills were $4,000 with my student loans and everything. And I couldn't invest that much into the business. So I decided to pack everything and go to Egypt for 4 months to live off of $500 so I can reinvest $3,500 every single month. And after doing that for 4 months, I actually ended up with $10,000 a month in profits. And then moved to LA, and I was still living off of $3,000 or so dollars a month, and I was doing a little bit of consulting here and there, which was paying me an additional $1,000 or $2,000, and I was able to. I lived in a 10-foot by 10-foot room, like 3 meters by 3 meters. I had one queen bed and my desk touching each other and a chair, and that's it. And I spent the next 7 months there until I was able to make something out of myself. So that's kind of what it took for me to go from zero. And I know not a lot of people talk about this. They always talk about like, I was, at the bottom and now I'm at the top, and no one sees like, okay, but how did you get there? How could you afford it? That's how I afforded it. Honestly, it was a mix of living very, very, very cheap below my means, taking some consulting here and there without getting too distracted, and just reinvesting everything in the business and identifying the needle movers and doubling down, which to me was PPC and reviews. And by then, at the beginning of 2020, we hit $94,000 a month in revenue. And, the rest is history.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So trying to sum up all of that, I mean, the key things that I pulled out of that was having that survival instinct. You need to have that hunger or it's not going to work. Have that obsession and almost be annoying with that obsession so that everyone knows about it. And trying all avenues to just get it up and running and get it moving. And I guess being an MMA fighter, that is survival instinct at its finest, because it's a dangerous sport. Some people literally are just fighting for their life in there. You look at where you are now and it's worth it, right?
100%. It's been the best thing ever. MMA nutrition now does like over $20,000 a month in profit, which is people will consider a very comfortable living, if that's the only thing that I had. Obviously, the agency is like 10 times bigger, but, it definitely paid off. I'm glad that I had some delayed gratification. Now, some people listening might be like, I could never do that, because I have kids and this and that. And I totally get it. But you still need the same level of hunger and desperation, which will drive you to figure it out. It'll drive you to figure out, I'm going to do whatever it takes to make this work. And so you have a job right now that you can't quit because you need, money for your family, whatever. If that job is not exactly what you want to do or what you want to be or helping you get there, I think you should change it immediately. And that's the one thing that I would do differently. And another thing definitely like that I've noticed is the biggest hack in like to shortcut everything, time, not make mistakes, all of that stuff, is hiring the right consultants. And I know this is hard and it's tough in the space, in Amazon space, right? We have TRIVIUM Tribe, which we created specifically for that. If you want to consult with me or my team, you don't have to. If you find the right people, there's a lot of great people. There's Elizabeth, there's Amy Weiss, whatever. A lot of them are good friends. It's just find the right person. And this is hard, finding the right person who's actually walk the walk is very hard, but find the right person and then pay them for their time. Because you might be spending, $200, $300, $400, $500 a month, getting information from them, but you're going to shortcut that time. You're going to skip so many mistakes. My first mistake is I bought 100 bags, golden bags from Amazon, and I shipped it to my manufacturer so you can put the powder in for the supplement and ship it. Now, we never tested anything. And this was so stupid. I'm an engineer and I worked in new product development. Like I stress tested like surgical devices and all of this stuff, but I never figured to test my own stuff. And 60 out of the 100 units being shipped to Amazon broke during transit because they couldn't pass a simple drop test. And so, like, trust me, if I was working with someone, and back then, man, it was so hard. So many people scammed me. I paid people money and they would give me like the most broad, like advice, like you should expand your PPC. You should structure it, blah, blah, blah. You should go with this.
Yeah.
There's no details. It was just like, pay me $1,000 a month and I'll mentor you type of stuff. And I got scammed. I'm not going to lie because I didn't know any better. But if you found the right people, they would have been like, okay, if you're launching a product, then here's what you need to do. You need to do this. You need to test your first batch. You need to make sure that you have your UPC or FNSKU based on this. You need to make sure that, you're shipping the product to Amazon. You need to have your stuff in a 3PL because you don't want to run out of stock. All of these things that, me and a lot of other experts have been through many times. And I wish like that guidance was there. So that's the one thing that I would do differently. And I'm one of those guys that doesn't think too much. I execute. Like, yeah, great. Like, with me and you can sit there and like talk about things, but guess what? Like if I did it, I'll, if we talk about a thing at 9:35 and I do it 9:40, I'm like, hey, I already have an answer. This is what happened. And it's cool because one of my core values is fail fast and fail forward. So, I'll tell you, this is a great thing. In MMA and wrestling, you have to take people down. So we're starting standing and I essentially, the dominant position is to take you down to the ground and get on top of you. And so, my coach noticed that I would start the match and I would never go for a shot because I was worried that I would fail. And then he would tell me, he's like, listen, man, if you never go for the shot, you'll never know your flaws. You'll never know your flaws. So I would go for the shot and then I would get choked. And then he would be like, you're sticking your neck out too much when you shoot. You're looking down. I want you to look up. Cool. I would go for the shot. I would be a little bit like this, but then I would shoot from too far. He's like, you shot from too far. And then I would go for the shot. I would get stuffed and he'd be like, well, you didn't fake. You didn't set up the shot. And after getting choked 100 times, getting stuffed 100 times, getting, all of this stuff, now I can, take down very effectively, but it was only through the mistakes and the failures. If I had thought of everything and then taken the shot, I was still going to get choked, stuffed, whatever, because I never actually did it. And so that's one thing that always stuck with me is like, we can think about it, but doing it, like, let's do it. Let's do it quickly. Let's make the mistake because the mistake will reveal what's wrong with us. You know what I mean? It's going to stress test us. So That's my mindset forward.
So that was fail fast, fail forward.
Correct.
Okay, I love that. And I guess it also speaks to something that you kind of found, or that you were speaking to a little bit earlier, about having that little notebook in front of you and documenting every test that you do, the outcome. It's almost like you're treating it as like a science experiment.
Exactly.
You have your hypothesis, you go through your different experiments, you have your conclusion, what went right, what went wrong, and that can, I guess, also logging that and documenting that's good for history to see, okay, I did such and such 2 years back. This is the outcome. I know not to do that now if I look at a problem in a similar way. So that's, I mean, treating that as a science experiment is great. And I also love the element that you touched on, which was, just the pure hunger of it. And the fact that you have to execute right there, right then. It might not be, there comes to elements of it where you don't want to execute on something that you're not 100% sure on, right? What's your take on that? Like how sure do you have to be of the decision before you execute?
You're going to be 100% sure of the outcome after you execute. That's my answer. So if I don't know if I should, hire you or not, right? And I hire you, and then you're good or you're bad, I already found the answer, right? You know what I mean? So after the action, you have 100% certainty of the outcome. And so if we already know that if we just take the action, then we're going to know the outcome. Unless it's something that's going to completely, like with big things that, might make or break my business, I'll consult people. And then I'll be like, if it's still uncertain, I'm like, how can I do it in the lowest risk way? But anyways, it's impossible. I can't predict the future, and everything changes all the time anyway. So just go for it. 99.99% of every single decision you will make for your Amazon business is not life or death. Like, it's immediately recoverable. So just do it.
Okay. So up until now, you've been in the Amazon space for 4-ish years, but you've had a lot up until then. I mean, I know your frustrations of working for a corporate. I also started my work life working for a corporate. It's very rigid. Not much change happens from you. You don't feel like you are making a difference there. And that can be frustrating. But if an e-commerce seller can take something away from this podcast that will be immediately actionable for their everyday life, what would it be?
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about that, not immediately actionable in terms of like, PPC and conversion rate optimization, but immediately actionable in your life, I would just say, this is what I would do. Write down exactly what you want in your life. And this was a huge game changer for me. Write down exactly what you want in your life. Pretend like someone's going to make a movie about it and describe it. And I guarantee you, many people don't do this. But if I were to make a movie about your life, give me a script, please. Like, tell me, like, what the house looks like, the temperature, the family, what they're doing, all of the stuff. And then start basing every single decision that you make. Is it getting you closer to that life or not? And is there something that you can change right now that can get you closer to that life? So for me, the answers would have been simple. I wanted freedom of location and freedom of time, or let's say freedom of location. I should have gotten a remote job. I wanted freedom of time. I should have gotten something that wasn't a time sensitive job, like I wanted to have that, like, a business, an Amazon business that allows me to work from my laptop. Well, I should have changed my job. I wanted to be in a warmer place. Well, I should have moved. I could have done everything. I could have done all of these things, but because there was no reference, I'm sure in ZEE, right? You guys will meet and you have annual goals, and you're like, hey, I have an idea. Like, what if we did a documentary? What if we did like something? And be like, let's look at our annual goals. I'm sorry, Bryce, but that doesn't align with our annual goals. That's not going to get us there. So we're not going to do it. Or you're doing, this X, Y, and Z thing. And, you're like, I'm going to like all of these dinners. And then it's like, okay, Bryce, like, let's look at, your goals. The goals are to get here. These dinners aren't helping. So why are we doing them? Why don't we change them to something else that will get us there? And so with companies, we do that. but we don't do it with our life.
I love that. I love it. I think that can be, to be honest, that can be the last takeaway out of it. But if I'm an e-commerce seller listening to this right now, and I'm sure there's going to be a little bit of movement off the back of this, but where can I find you online? Where's the best place to get in contact with you?
Cool. LinkedIn, Mina Elias, Mina space Elias, or Instagram at the Mina Elias. I'm very accessible on both those platforms. If you want to, go on the website, it's triviumco.com, TRIVIUMCO.com. And you can, file for an audit, and we'll do like a review of your entire Amazon stuff. And that's where you can get a ton of like actionable value, like step by step, like this is how you should rename your portfolios, your campaigns, your budgets, how many ad groups. These are the keywords you should be launching versus not launching versus adding as negatives. Your placements are too high here. Your organic rank is low. You should focus on these keywords for the organic rank, et cetera, et cetera. So that's where you can get like all of that value. And if you're a Helium-10 user, go check out the PPC Academy. I did like a 35 video step-by-step on exactly how to run, Amazon PPC. Like it took us like, I would say like 5, 6, 8 hour days of me filming, to condense everything, from my brain about Amazon advertising in one place. So that's essentially, everything that you need to know about me and where to get value. And if you want me to share some valuable stuff right now, I can't. There's also like a couple minutes I can throw some cool stuff in here.
Yeah. Okay. Do it. Let's do it. What would be if we have to narrow it down to 3 things? Value for PPC. Let's go.
Okay. First of all, I think you should be tracking a lot of metrics that are not in Campaign Manager. So I like to track PPC spend, total sales, sessions, which is the number of unique Amazon accounts visiting your listing, the cost of that session, which is PPC divided by sessions, click-through rate, conversion rate, and then profit. Those are the main numbers that I'm always tracking. Now, when I'm launching, there's 2 things that I want to do. I either want to increase my revenue or I want to increase my profit. You can't do both. So if I'm scaling and I want to increase my revenue, you want to increase your PPC spend. Notice that your sessions are going up. Notice that your conversion rate is the same or maybe a little bit lower, but not too much lower. Notice that your click-through rate is the same or a little bit lower, not too much lower. You know that your profit's going to be impacted, but you are going to spend more money to generate more revenue. Some of the keywords are going to be good. Other ones are not. The ones that are good, you'll keep them. The ones that are not, you're going to remove them. That's how you scale. You put some money behind testing and a test budget. Now, vice versa, if you want to optimize for profit, increase your profits. First of all, make sure that you have enough room to optimize. So if you're spending $50 a day, you have nothing, right? If you're spending $300, $400 a day, yeah, maybe you can shave down $50 to $100 a day. And now you have an additional $30,000 a month in profit, or $1,500 a month in profit. So first of all, assess if you can do that. And if you can, you're taking actions like lowering bids for keywords that are not working, aka high ACOS, maybe over 80%, or spend and no sales, like $15 in spend and no sales for a keyword. If it's an auto broadened phrase or expanded ASIN, you want to add as negatives. Keywords that are spending money and not generating sales, add them as negatives. Keywords that are very high ACOS, add them as negatives. Now beware of keywords that are generating a lot of sales at a high ACOS. If it's a keyword or an ASIN that's generating a lot of sales, but the ACOS is high, leave it to the end, because you don't know, the impact on organic could be pretty high, so that if you lower it, you might hurt yourself. And then, so you're lowering bids, adding negatives. If you did a bid by placement, bid adjustment, make sure that it's working. If it's not, you can, bring it down to 0. If you're very high ranked organically and sponsored, you can test lowering the sponsored rank and seeing if that's going to lower your ad spend while maintaining the same amount of sales, because the organic position is there. And if you're using sponsored brand, like headline search ads or video, try dropping those as well. See if you can save money while generating the same amount of traffic, same amount of sessions. What to anticipate in the metrics: your PPC spend should go down, your revenue should go down a little bit, your sessions should go down a little bit, your conversion rate and click-through rate should go up, your cost per session should go down because you're being more efficient with your traffic, and your profit should go up. So make sure you have the tracking, make sure you know what metrics and what KPIs to look for. Know the actions that you're going to take. So when you're scaling, you're increasing bids, increasing budgets, launching new campaigns, increasing bid by placement, and maybe trying different ad types like sponsored brand, like video or whatever. And like you can also go for organic ranking. So single keyword campaigns, one campaign, one ad group, one keyword, spend a lot of money, broad phrase and exact, 3 campaigns, spend a lot of money, and track your organic rank in Helium 10 keyword tracker. Make sure that it's going up as you're spending that money. So that's on the PPC side. And then finally, you should also put the same amount of energy and effort into click-through rate and conversion rate optimization. There's not going to be enough time to talk about conversion rate, but at least with click-through rate optimization, for the same ads like that you have running right now, you can have more people come into the listing and more convert. So if you're converting profitably, if you understand where your break-even conversion rate is and your conversion rate is higher, then you just want to bring more people to the listing. And you can do that with the same exact campaign structure by, if you keep everything the same in terms of ads, things that you can do is adjust the price, get better star rating and reviews, adjust the main image, add coupons and lightning deals. So those are levers that you can pull very quickly. Price, you can do 2 things: either just lower the price and monitor click-through rate, or use a software like Prophecy that will, Profasee, I believe, where you can do it automatically and they can test for the best price. Try different coupons, $5, 10% off, 25% off, whatever, and look at the cost benefit analysis. Sort of like, if I put this discount, is my profit going to go higher based on like a higher click-through rate because I'm getting a lot more sales? Main image. Take your main image, go to productopinion.com or pigfu.com and put your product versus your competitors. There's something called like a search result simulation. It can show your competitors and you, and then ask people which one would you click on and why. And they're going to give you the reasons why they would click on other people and wouldn't click on you, or would click on you. And make sure that you highlight why they would click on you, and then try and take from why they're clicking on other people and put it in your listing. Again, you can mess around with the packaging. The 3D render is easy to mess around with. If the product comes a little bit different in the mail, no one's going to remember. They clicked on a picture and they bought it. 3 days later, they don't know what they exactly clicked on. So using that, you can change the main image, go back, test it again until you're beating your competitors, or at least getting like a 50% score, and them combined is 50%. And then you can test it in Amazon. Again, you're looking for a higher click-through rate and hopefully a better conversion rate. So those are the levers you can pull to improve click-through rate, in my opinion. And hopefully this was a lot of value very quickly.
Wow, you literally just put a whole 30-minute episode into, I think that was 6 or 7 minutes. That was insane. But wow, insurmountable amount of value you have, Mina. I think just listening to the way that you talk and the way that you look at things analytically, I guess it comes from the engineering background. Wow, I mean, the numbers don't lie. And if you can, a lot of people focus on building the brand, which is obviously needed. You need to tell a story through your brand, through your advertising, but also focusing on the numbers, focusing on and playing with those different metrics, those different levers. I think that's the key to a successful campaign for sure. But it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. I think it's anyone listening to this, it's no doubt the value that you bring to the Amazon industry. And not only that, I think this is the first podcast we've had that is focused more on the personal element, the personality, the hunger, the drive, which is something I love to chat about. So I certainly plan on having you on again if you'll have us later down in the future. I think there's so much we can chat about, and I think we chat about for hours on this. But I think it's very valuable, the value that Trivium Group can bring as well to enhancing PPC and basically including that partial team into an e-commerce seller's business, to become one with that team, to work as a team together to achieve the goal, which is maximizing that revenue or maximizing the profit, what you just said. But thanks so much again, really appreciate it, and everyone look out for this episode. Thanks for watching the EZee E-Commerce podcast. Click here for more episodes and follow us on our socials linked below, and of course don't forget to like and subscribe.